under the Parliament Acts like Water Act, Air Act, Environmental Protection Act, and it is our duty to see that all the state wherever we are, so to control the pollution in whatever the way it is. So under these acts, we are authorized to regulate the industries, hospitals, hotels, any other areas where the pollution is caused. So this is our daily duty, and we under our duty we will issue consents to the industries, hospitals, and the even residential complexes which are having a build-up area of 20,000 square meters and above. So this is overall just scenario how the pollution control board works. Next, coming to the today's discussion, that is role of a chemical engineering safeguarding the environment. So
Ramap sir.
Yeah, I'm going to share the PPT. Let me go. Yeah, once again, I request all the participants, please be active so that I can know whether you are getting me or not. If any problem is there, let me know. And anyway, the Naresh will help me in any technical issues are there. So first of all, what is the role? So why we are as a chemical engineer, what is the need to learn the environment issues? Because as we all know that environment is gaining more and more important nowadays. Every academic curriculum, there is a Supreme Court order that we should have a subject related to the environment. And moreover, I can say as a chemical engineer, we have more and more role to play in the environment issues, because all the industries, whatever industry you take it, so without any chemical engineering application, there will not be any industry exist. If you take a small stone crusher to a large refinery or petrochemical industries, or even gas and paper, sugar, whatever industry may be, but every industry has the chemical engineering application. That is, we should be proud of a chemical engineer, and it is our duty that we should apply all the chemical engineering applications with thoroughly. So I request all of you, whenever you are in the academic, I mean 4 years bachelor degree, you see that what exactly you are going to learn and where the applications are implemented. That is very, very important. For the sake of exams, don't go into the learning of chemical engineering. It's a beautiful engineering subject. You will enjoy each and every aspects of or topics of chemical engineering. So with this, I will move on to the next slide. That is
Ramappa sir, full screen.
Yeah.
Full screen, F5.
Yeah. Oh, one second. Let me.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. So today I'm going to discuss about the outline of the first thing is introduction. So in the introduction, I will going to discuss about what is the environment, what is the pollution, how exactly it is occurred, and types of pollution and control measures in industries. Because based on every industry, there is a change in the characteristics of the nature of the pollution. So what industries generate what type of pollution is very important, because we have to ultimately control the pollution. For that, we have to know the exact characteristics and nature of the pollution. And the case studies. Case studies means, see, after thorough practical implementation, we have so many case studies. I'm going to discuss like 3 to 4. So after completion of case studies, you will come to know that what exactly the chemical engineering can do in implementation of the action rules or safeguarding the environment. Next, finally, I will highlight on the requirement of chemical engineers in industries. So what an industry is exactly wants from a chemical engineering student which is coming out of the academic or completion of his graduation. So with this, what is environment? So you can have your own definition for environment. Environment is nothing but whatever you are seeing in your daily life, in and around your everything is considered as an environment. But one of the best definitions of environment as per this slide, you can have which includes water, air, land, the interrelationship which exists among and between water, air, and land and human beings, other living creatures, plants, microorganism, and property, which is considered as the environment. You see here the property is included. That means non-living thing. That means the environment also includes non-living things. Okay? Okay, am I audible to everyone? Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Continue.
Yeah, please. So that because I need some response. Okay.
Sir, continue, sir. No problem.
Okay. Thank you, Naresh. Next, we'll see the pollution. Pollution is nothing but any normal thing deviated or contaminated with unwanted things is nothing but pollution. Okay, if you see the definition beautifully written, the presence of matter. Matter is nothing but gas, liquid, solid, or energy. Energy is heat, noise, radiation, whose nature, location, or quantity directly or indirectly alters characteristics or processes of any part of the environment. You see, any part of the environment and causes or has the potential to cause. It is very important. It need not to directly cause. It has the potential to cause damage to the condition, health, safety, or welfare of animals, humans, plants, or property. This is known as a pollution. It's a very beautiful definition given for pollution. Is okay. Next, okay, we have learned environment. Our duty is to safeguard the environment. That's why we have learned what is environment and to safeguard the environment from the pollution. So that's why we should know what is pollution. And next, from where this pollution is generated, that is our duty. Next, we move on to the sources of pollution. Basically, the main sources of pollution are industries, domestics, agriculture runoffs, natural disasters, man-made disaster, hospitals, electronic gadgets. So among all these, mostly every time we are concentrating on the industries. Why? Because don't you think the domestic waste will be generated? Yes, the quantum of waste generated from the domestic is much higher than the quantum of waste generated from the industry. In spite of that, why we are concentrating on the industry means the intensity of the pollution is very high in the industries when compared to the domestic. If you see the statistics data, 60 to 70% of the quantity of waste generated is from the domestic, not from the industry. But the intensity is very low when compared to the industry. You will see every day in our household, we will take bath, and in kitchen, we will generate waste and washing of clothes, washing of dishes. So much of waste is generated, and this is also causing pollution to the water body. But the intensity is low. If you see the wastewater generated from the industry, if it is even 1 liter can damage the entire water body or lake, rivers. So that's why our concentration will be much on industries when compared to the domestics. Next, agriculture, natural disasters, hospitals. Hospitals are also very important. You might be surprised to know that many hospitals are generating the biomedical waste, which are very harmful to the and not only environment and also living creatures. How? See, if you go to the operation theater, if any operation was carried out, huge quantity, maybe the quantity is different type of waste, that is dead waste, animal anatomy bodies will be there, and the drugs, whatever they are used, get out drugs from the bodies, all they are considered as a biomedical waste. If these biomedical wastes are not properly disposed, then it may cause very severe, serious effect on the environment and also on human beings, animals, and plants. So it is our duty to see that these biomedical wastes are properly disposed by segregating at the source, and it should be disposed to a biomedical waste facilities where the scientific incineration will take place. Okay, this is deviating from our topic. Okay, next, electronic gadgets. I request all the participants, please see that nowadays it's a one of the everybody's passion that we should change our gadgets from time to time. No, please try to stick to your one mobile phone or one laptop. If it is must and should compulsory only, then you try for go for changes. Even when you are generating waste, you should dispose to a proper recycler, not just thrown onto the municipal solid waste, because all the electronic gadgets contains heavy metals which causes severe effect onto the environment and on the human beings living creatures. So this is about the sources of pollution, where exactly the pollution is generated. Next we will see the our main concentration, as I told you, that it is the industries where the pollution is concentrated more because of their intensity. So it is our duty to know that what are the industries are available and what type of industries are available and what type of pollution generated from each industry. So that's why it is our duty to know types of industries. So basically, the Central Pollution Control Board divided industries into red, orange, green, and white category based on their pollution mode or pollution index. Is nothing but if it is the higher the pollution, then it is considered as a red category of industry. If it is the pollution levels are moderate, then it is considered as a orange category. If the pollution modes are less, it is considered as a green category. If there is absolutely no pollution, then it is considered as a white category. Again, you see the slides. In red category, there are 60 types of industrial sectors are existing. What it means? You see, I will give one example to understand this statement. Sir, if you see the cement industry, paper industry, sugar industry, refinery, distillery, all these industries are considered as a red category industries, but these are different industry sectors comes under. Like that, there are 60 industrial sectors are existing under the red category of industries. In the same way, in orange category, if you take formulation, one bulk drug industry manufactures the drug. The drug is converted into tablets and syrups and vials. This category of industry is known as a formulation industries. Those will come under orange category. Like that, if it is a stone crusher industry, this is also comes under orange category. If steel re-rolling industry are there, that is manufacturing of TMT bars, that is daily usage to construct our buildings, we required steel, that is considered as a orange category industry. Such type of industrial sectors are there 83, which are existing under orange category. Next, green category industries. If I will give some 2 or 3 examples for green category industries, any engineering industry without any boiler, without any hard treatment, just only assembling involves, then it is a considered as a green category industries. Other than that, we have solar panels. Assembling of solar panel industry also considered as a green category industries. Ready mix plants. Nowadays, every contractor or any household purpose to construct the house, we are not depending manually. We are going for ready mix machines, ready mix concrete. The ready mix concrete comes under green category industries. white category industries which does not have any industrial activities. That is, earlier these white category industries also considered as a green category industries, but the then government or NDA government, they converted this green category into a white category industry. Okay, Naresh, am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Continue, continue.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
any
Thank
problem
you.
comes, I'll stop you, sir.
Yeah, okay, thank you. So even I think you muted all the participants.
Yeah, yes, sir. The participants are with contact with us.
Okay, I don't know whether they are getting or not.
Yeah, it's fine, sir. It's fine.
Okay, thank you. So, okay, let us move to the next slide. So, as I already told that every industry generate different types of pollution. Let us see some examples, not all the industry, because so many more than 200 industrial sectors are there. I have taken 5 or 10 examples of industries and what type of pollution they will generate. If you see the bulk drug, pharmaceutical industries, they will generate water pollution, air pollution, soil pollution, and also noise pollution. Like that, if you see the cement industry, predominantly air pollution, because if you see the cement industry, they will take limestone and they will mix with laterite, gypsum, and they will pulverize in the crusher, and that powder is burnt into the kiln. After that, after kiln, it will goes to the cement mill where your product is generated. So entire process, you will not use any water. So that's why there will not be any water pollution. However, there are so much of huge colonies will be there. Domestic sewage will be generated, but it is not much considered because it is not related to the process. Like that, sugar industry. In sugar industry also, predominantly water pollution, air pollution, all type of pollution it is generated from steel industry. It is also predominantly air pollution industry. If you see what happens in steel industry or sponge iron industry, in sponge iron industry, the ore is taken from the mines and this ore is burnt in the kiln with the higher temperature up to 1,000 degrees centigrade. So by injecting fuel coal, pulverized coal will be injected in the kiln and the smoke will be generated. So the sponge iron and steel irons are air polluting industry. It's the same way stone crusher. Many of us might be seeing the stone crusher industries because what happens? You see, every industry, even bulk drugs, cement, sugar, steel, sponge, stone iron, or whatever you are learned, chemical engineering, concepts every industries have. I will give one example for your simple understanding. Stone crusher. You might be studied about the jaw crusher. Huh? So the first in stone crusher, the first major thing is primary crushing is done by. So this is also air pollution industry. Textile industry is also water pollution, air pollution, soil pollution, noise pollution. Ready mix plant. Just now I discussed. This is only mixing of concrete and cement and sand. This is called a ready mix plant, and it is also a air pollution industry considered. Food processing, all type of pollution will be there. Distillery industries, all type of pollution will be generated. Paper industries, leather industries, all type of pollution will be. So till now, what we have studied. So environment. So we have to protect the environment from pollution. For that, what is the pollution going on, and what are the sources of pollution? And the major source is industries. That's why we learn the types of industries, and in the under each and industry, what type of pollution we have generating. Till now, we have studied. Next, our duty is the sources where exactly. So let us think that in Baghdad told that water pollution is generated. Where exactly this water pollution is generated? So what type of pollution? Types of pollution in Baghdad industry. So from now onwards, the major concentration will be on the types of pollution from the Baghdad industries. Okay. So coming to the water pollution, there are two types of effluents are generated. That is high TDS effluents and low TDS effluents. What exactly high TDS effluents means? If the total dissolved inorganic solids are more than 5,000 mg per liter, then it is considered as a high TDS effluents. I will give a very simple example. If you take a fresh water, if you go on adding a salt. So what happens? The salts will be dissolved into a water. If we see the TDS levels of fresh water, maybe it is around 300 or 400 if it is a bore water. If it is a drinking water, if it is a purified water, it varies from 80 to 150 or even 200. After mixing of salts, the TDS levels will increases. If it increases more than 5000 milligrams per liter, if you take 1 liter of water, then the salts are 5000 milligrams and more, then it is that liquid is or effluent is considered as a high TDS effluent. In the same way, the low TDS effluents, if the TDS levels are less than the 5000 milligram per liter, then it is considered as a low TDS effluents. In the same way, it is our duty to know the air pollution. Till now, what we have studied, water pollution, what type of pollution will be there. Next, in the air pollution, process emissions will be there, fugitive emissions will be there, boiler or the furnace, DG set emissions will be there. What exactly the process emission means? The process emission is nothing but the gases generated during the process. That means if you take a reaction A plus B gives rise to C plus D, and there are some gases or unwanted gases are emitted from that reaction. The unwanted emissions are known as process emission, which are affecting the environment. What is the fugitive emissions? Fugitive emission is nothing but if you have a solvent storage tanks or dumps, maybe due to the some leakages, because of low boiling point of the solvent, the evaporation of the solvents may take place. These losses or these emissions are called as a fugitive emissions. How we are going to control these emissions, we will see in the next. Boiler emissions. What exactly the boiler emissions means? Boiler. Every industry needs a boiler. Why? Boiler, by using boiler, we will generate steam. So to generate steam, we require the fuel. We have to burn the fuel like coal, rice husk, briquettes. We will burn in the boiler. What happens after burning the coal? Obviously, the combustion will take place. The smoke will be emitted. These smoke particles are dangerous for human health as well as environment. So it is our duty to control these also. We will see how the control methods will be there. Next, coming to the solid or hazardous waste generation or pollution. So, as I told, process emission, the same way, along with the gases, there are some solid wastes are generated. Those are maybe inorganic in nature or organic in nature, but in the form of solid. Then it is called a solid pollution or a solid waste. If it is a hazardous, if it is a hazardous waste, we will call it. If it is a non-hazardous, then simply we will call it as a solid waste. Next, distillation bottom ratio. You see the word distillation. Every chemical engineer is might be heard about the distillation. It's a very, very, very important aspect or topic for every chemical engineer, where the solvents are separated or segregated by using a distillation column. So after recovering the fresh solvent, the bottom sludge will be known as a distillation bottom residue, which is very hazardous in nature and it is very dangerous, and it is having one good thing is that it is having more calorific value, which can be considered as a fuel for some of the industries. Though it is a hazardous waste, it can be used as a raw material or a fuel for some other industries. Next, evaporation salts. Okay, what exactly the evaporation salts means? We talked about high TDS effluents where the TDS levels are more. When these TDS levels are more, then we should evaporate the effluents in order to get the dissolved solids. So those evaporation salts are nothing but evaporation. We will call it as a evaporation salt. So noise pollution. Every industries has more or less noise pollution will be there. They will use huge high HP pumps, blowers and boilers, generators, even some reactors. They are going to use hammers. I will give one example. Sometimes what happens after completion of reaction, the product by sticky in nature, it adds to the reactor walls. In that case, what they will do is they will provide some hammers to remove that sticky material from the reactor. At that time, you will get huge decibels of voice. That is also considered as one of the noise pollution. So we have studied different types of pollutions till now, and it's our duty to see how we are going to control these type of pollutions. Okay, so sources of pollution, once again before going that techniques. So process, the effluents are generated from process washings. Process is nothing but, just now I explained, during the reaction the process wastewater will be generated. The unwanted other than the product is nothing but waste, like that washings. After completion of the reactor, after completion of the reaction, reactors are washed. That washings will contain more dangerous effluents, and also the poor washings. Boiler blow down. Every boiler we will feed a fresh water. Over the period of time, what happens? The boiler blow down will generate. That means the fresh water will be converted into steam, and whatever the TDS will be there, it will be there at the bottom. That is called a blow down. So every boiler requires once in a week or once in a month to blow down the wastewater. This may be sometimes low TDS or sometimes high TDS, because based on the inlet TDS levels of the water you are feeding to the boiler. Next, cooling tower bead up. What exactly means cooling tower bead up? Every industry has a cooling towers to cool the steam. So you will recirculate the cooling water continuously in cooling tower. What happens over the period of time? The scale formation will take place, and the TDS levels increases in the fresh water or circulated water. That we need to change the bead off. That is called the word cooling tower bead off. Next, scrubber wastewater. This is also one of the chemical engineering applications, scrubber also. What happens if the process emissions generate from the reaction? It should be passed through the scrubber before get into the atmosphere. Where in scrubber, what we will do, based on the requirement, if it is alkaline media required or acidic media, based on the requirement we will use medias, and this is scrubbed to remove the waste present in the gases. Then the wastewater which contains the unwanted gas is known as scrubbing wastewater. Next, RO rejects. RO rejects, what happens? If you pass through the wastewater into RO, then the fresh water is come out from the as a permeate, and whatever the contaminated or solids will be there, that is rejected. That means that is considered as a solid waste. Okay. Next, DM can regenerator. This same way as it is from RO can. Next, coming to the MEE, multiple effect evaporator, forced evaporator, agitated thin film dryer, condensate. What happens if you send the, we will see this is in a case study, because in detail I will explain what exactly the condensate of ME, FE, ATMP. Okay, next, domestic. As you know that we every industry have a staff, I mean employees, they will use hand wash, and all these wastewater is considered as a domestic wastewater. Next, we will move on to the air pollution sources. Boiler emission, just now we have discussed. Induction furnace. In steel industry, what happens? The iron material will be melted in the induction furnace. During that time, smoke will be generated. That is one of the sources of air pollution. Reheating furnace is nothing but manufacturing of TMT bars, where we are using to construct any houses. We require steel bars that is generated in the reheating furnace, where coal is used as a fuel. Hence, we will. It is one of the sources of air pollution. Process emission already we have discussed. Fugitive emissions we have discussed. Next, the main part of the discussion is what are the treatment methods available to treat above pollutants. Okay, so coming to the first of all, we will see water pollution, next air, soil. So water pollution, high TDS effluents we have already defined. So after knowing the high TDS effluents, so it is our duty how these high TDS effluents are managed or treated. So by using stripper, ME and ATFD. So what exactly means this stripper, ME, ATFD? In case study, I will explain in detail because it is again and again it is repeating. So OTDS effluents, if the TDS levels are less than the 5000 milligram per liter, then it is considered as a OTDS effluent. Then it is treated in a biological effluent treatment can followed by reverse osmosis plant. Please remember one thing here. If the TDS levels are more than the 5000 milligram per liter, then the biological ETP is not suggested. By using biological ETP, we will not going to remove the TDS. Only we will reduce the BOD and COD levels. Okay. These are the techniques to handle the high TDS and low TDS. Next, coming to the air pollution. So, process emissions we have studied and how these process emissions can be controlled by providing scrubber, primary and secondary condenser to the process reactor. I will explain the scrubber. As just now I discussed, if any reaction is carried out in a reactor, for example, A plus B gives rise to C plus D, same example I am taking. So, unwanted gases are existing. So, generally, whatever the reaction may be, there is a product formation will be there along with product. You will get the unwanted products or byproducts or unwanted gases. Those gases we should not get into the atmosphere directly. These should be passed through a primary and secondary condenser which are attached to the reactors. So first it will go into the primary condenser and secondary condenser. You might be, don't confuse with the condenser. It's nothing but one type of the heat exchanger. Again, also here chemical engineering application. Next, scrubber, primary and secondary condenser. They will whatever the condensable gases are there, they are condensed. If it is not condensed, then it is passed through scrubber where the scrubbing media, if it is the emission of the gases are alkaline in nature, then you should use a acidic media in the scrubber. If the unwanted gases are acidic in nature, then you should use alkaline media in the scrubber. So that way we can control the process emission. One more thing which I have not included here, that is VOCs, volatile organic compounds, which cannot be controlled by using primary, secondary condenser as well as scrubber. For that, we have to go for carbon absorption columns. Okay, that is VOC is also considered as one of the process emission. Next, coming to the fugitive emissions. How these fugitive emissions can be controlled by using condenser to the solvent storage tank. I will give example how these condenser are provided to the solvent storage tank and how exactly these fugitive emissions are controlled. If you take a solvent storage tank where a methanol is stored, if you take the boiling point of methanol, maybe if I am right, it is 63 degrees centigrade. In the summer, there is a chance of evaporating of this methanol. So every storage tank is kept some gap so that evaporation, the space is utilized for gaseous, evaporated gases. Once it is enter into the atmosphere, it is causes effect to the environment. That's why the vent is provided and connected to the condenser, where the cool water is circulated in the condenser, and whatever the evaporated methanol is there, again condensed and converted into the liquid, and it is sent back to the storage tank. This is the purpose of providing condenser to the solvent storage tanks. Next, transfer of solvents through closed pipes. What exactly it means? So every industries will get solvents through dedicated tankers or by drums. So after coming the tanker, the total entire solvents are transferred to the storage tanks. If it is transferred openly, that means by dipping the pipeline, and there is a chance of escaping of more solvents into the atmosphere. So we should see that there should not be any opening of the pipes by during the transfer of solvents. It should be closed pipeline, closed centrifuge. So this is also one of the chemical engineering application, centrifuges. So where exactly these centrifuges are used. So after completion of reaction in the reactor, so we have to centrifuge to get the product. So there are different type of centrifuges. Most of the cases in 1 decade back or 5 years back, open centrifuges are used in the industries. During that process, what happens? Whatever reaction in the bulk drug industries are mostly or predominantly solvent based reactions. Solvent based reactions is nothing but solvents are used as a media to carry forward the forward reaction, to carry out the forward reaction. So the solvents immediately evaporates and get into the atmosphere if it is a open centrifuge. That's why we should prefer closed centrifuges to control the fugitive emissions. Next, boiler or furnace emission can be controlled by providing different types of air pollution control equipments. If it is a small type capacity boiler, then cyclone separator is enough. If it is the boiler capacity is more than the 4 TPH or 5 TPH tons per hour, TPH means, then we should go for bag filters, pulse jet bag filters, and ESPs, electrostatic precipitator. You see, the cyclone separator we have studied in the unit operations, bag filters, electrostatic precipitators. These are all every chemical engineering student come across all type of these things. Even not only that, when we are treating high TDS effluents, the stripper also is one of the chemical engineering application. Multiple effective operation is also one of the chemical engineering application. Agitated thin film dryer also chemical engineering application. RO system, whatever the instrument or equipment are using in the safeguarding the environment or controlling the pollution or related to the chemical engineering only. Please see that whenever you are going back to your college and you are studying about these stripper ME, just remind that these are where these applications are there. So applications are very, very important. Just don't simply study the stripper ME ATFD. Whatever you are studying, solvent distillation or evaporation or crystallization or centrifuges, whatever it may be the topic, just you raise your question and ask that where the application where exactly comes and what way the chemical engineering is going to apply his theoretical knowledge in the industries. That is very, very important. Any industry expect from the fresher or a student which is coming from the academician expect the application, not 100%, because as a fresher, everybody knows that at least you should have a knowledge of the whatever the engineering aspects or concepts studied, where these are applied applications of these concepts. That is important. Next, solid waste. So if you see the solid waste where we have generated, one thing I told that distillation bottom residues, after distillation of solvents you will get the solid waste which are known as a more hazardous in nature, and also evaporation salts. All the reactions we get unwanted solid waste, those are all called solid waste or hazardous waste. How these going to be handled? By scientific landfill, incineration, co-processing in cement phase, or before all this you should see that it should be recycled and reused. Very, very important. If it is not possible for recycling or not covered under reuse, then only we go for landfill incineration. Again, which waste go to the landfill and which waste go to the incinerator? I will tell. If the solid waste does not have the calorific value more than the 2500 kilocalorie per hour, then it is going to the Gantt fig after stabilization. Scientific Gantt fig. Gantt fig means scientific Gantt fig. There is a that is a lengthy subject how the scientific Gantt figs are constructed and used. Next, incinerator. If the solid waste has the more calorific value, that is more than the 2500 kilocalorie per hour, then it is eligible for incinerator. Incineration is also not suggestible nowadays because what happens in the incinerator is simply by the help of the calorific value you are burning at higher temperatures like 600 700 degrees in primary chamber and more than 1000 degrees in secondary chamber. So simply you are wasting a huge quantity of energy, and in turn you are generating huge quantity of air pollution. That's why other either incinerating, it is better to send for the co-processing in cement plant. We will see in the case studies. Noise pollution. Next, coming to the noise pollution. How the noise pollution control? By using acoustic enclosures. You know many acoustic enclosures are available which are soundproof in nature. By using those, we can control the noise pollution. Next, the major thing what we entered into is the case study. Naresh sir, Naresh
Yes,
sir,
sir. Yes,
yeah.
sir.
Before entering case study, just I would like to know from the participant, speed. Am I going very fast or slow? Little bit. Just I want feedback so that after that, within 1 second or 10 seconds.
You can ask in the chat box, sir. There is a chat box available.
Okay.
Okay, you can ask any questions in the.
Otherwise, you just unmute any one of the participants so that I can know their views, so that I will continue.
Yeah, the participants can unmute themselves if they have. If they
Yeah,
have
please
any.
request a participant, anyone, please let me know that whether you are audible or you are following, any problem is there, so that I can continue in same frequency. Any participant, please.
So, participants,
Okay.
till now we have a general view of what's the pollution, about the environmental different types of pollutants and everything. Now the speaker is going to discuss the real-time case studies what he has faced during his last tenure as an assistant environmental engineer. Till now, if you have any doubts or if you want anything to be improved, you can chat or you can just unmute and you can talk yourself. Sir, in the chat box, participants are saying it's
Chat box,
okay,
I am
no
getting
problem till
response.
now.
Okay. Okay,
Okay,
Teres,
sir.
I am seeing in the chat box. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you,
Okay.
participants, for your feedback. Next, I will move on to the case studies. So, for the first case study, I have 5 case studies. The major one is implementation of zero liquid discharge system in bulk drug industry. See, as already I discussed, then Andhra Pradesh, that is the combined Andhra Pradesh, exporting 33% of bulk drugs manufactured in the world. We are contributing 33%. One of the major hub of the bulk drug in Andhra Pradesh. Just imagine 33%. Even in the time of COVID also, our bulk drug industries are contributing their efforts very, very high. So that's why, not only that, so we are generating more bulk drugs. It is very happy one side. But if you see the bulk drug manufacturing industries in entire world, most of it dominated in China and India only. So why? Because most of the developed countries, they have stopped all the bulk drug manufacturing units. Why? Because you will get different type of highly typical characteristics of drug industry. So it's a very, very tough job for any industry person to handle this type of effluents. That's why over the period of time, all these developed countries, so-called USA, Europe, all these countries, even Russia also, most of their manufacturing industries are, they stop and they are getting bulk drugs, manufactured drug from India and China only, because they came across all the difficulty in handling of these waste. You may ask one question, then why, knowing all those things. Why we are going for manufacturing units in bulk drug industries? Because India is a developing country. We need our economy to be a strong. For that, we don't have other option. But we can say proudly that though we are getting a typical type, though we are getting a typical type of effluents in character, but we are successfully handling the effluents in the bulk drug industries. So this is the practical successful story implemented in India, not only in Andhra Pradesh. All the bulk drugs are now insisted for go for zero liquid discharge system in entire bulk drugs located in India. This is a approved system by the Central Pollution Control Board. Most of the time you might be heard about the zero discharge. Many industry people come and say with us, sir, my industry is a zero discharge industry. My industry does not generate any waste. Absolutely zero discharge. So absolutely wrong. There will not be any zero discharge because neither mass is generated or not created. Whatever waste is generated, it should be transferred into some another phase. So that's why zero discharge is not suggested. Name zero liquid discharge. That means the liquid is completely transferred into the solid phase. So there is no liquid is discharged from the industry. It is converted into solid waste, and this solid waste are disposed to the landfill or from the industry. That means the liquid waste is not coming out of the industry. That's why the name zero liquid discharge system kept for this system. Okay, so what exactly the ZLD means and what it consists of? The zero liquid discharge facility consists of stripper, multiple effect evaporator, and ATFD, agitated thin film dryer. So all these three things are used to treat the high TDS effluents as we discussed earlier in the earlier slide. Next, we'll go one by one. Stripper, multiple, next diagram by seeing diagram. Next, biological treatment can. So already I told in the biological treatment can, if the TDS level, that is total dissolved solvents, are not removed, only it is meant for removing the BOD, COD levels majorly. So next, reverse osmosis plant. So why RO plant is required after biological plant? Because what we are the feeding of biological ETP OTDS. OTDS means less than 5000 mg per liter. That means if the TDS levels are 4500 milligrams per liter, then it is treated in the biological treatment plant. What I told, the TDS levels are not controlled or not reduced by using biological treatment. Whatever that OTDS present in the effluent, it is completely carried out after treatment in the biological treatment plant. So where should go this TDS level? That's why after biological treatment, after reducing the COD, BOD level, it is our duty to reduce or remove the TDS. Maybe the OTDS, it should be also removed from the effluent. For that, reverse osmosis plants are established after the biological treatment plant. Next, decanter. The solid decanter or centrifuge. The solid waste is then removed from the effluent. Hazardous waste storage state. Whatever the solid waste generated from the ATFT and from the centrifuge or from the effluent storage tank, the bottoms are over the period of time. What happens if you store the effluents in a storage tank? After 6 months, the total solid gets settled down into the bottom, which is after 6 months or 3 months, based on the characteristic of the effluents, we have to remove the bottom sludge, ETP sludge. So those hazardous waste storage should be kept separated. Detoxification facility. So detoxification is nothing but whatever the drums are carried out into the used in the solvents to carry out the solvents, those drums shall be detoxified because it is chemically contaminated. Those drums should not be go from the industry without detoxification, because many of the times we might be seen the chemical or plastic drums along the roadside vendors they will sell. Those are coming from the bulk drug industry and contaminated with the chemical. So it is the industry's responsibility that before selling to the recycler or any vendor, they should detoxify the drum and it should sell to the outside parties. And for that, a dedicated detoxification area should be there. There is a manual detoxification available and automation also available. Next, we will see each and every treatment. I already told high TDS effluents from the process. So how these high TDS effluents are treated. So before going to it, I will tell how these effluents are treated 2-3 decades back. When there is no concept of zero liquid discharge, handling of these high TDS waste effluents are very difficult for the industry people as well as the regulatory authority like our pollution control board. There was no proper technology or control method or treatment methods available at that time. All the effluents mixed and it is dumped into the effluent treatment plant. What happens? The load will increases and the functioning or the efficiency of the treatment plants was reduced, and without treatment the effluents will come out from the ETP and the treated effluent are not meeting the standards and they are simply thrown into the nearby water bodies and lakes, rivers, nalas. The entire the Patancheru, Bulgaram area in Hyderabad was completely contaminated because there is no such standard for effluent treatment plants for TDS levels or COD levels. In those times, total entire groundwater was polluted because of non-availability of treatment technology. Then the Supreme Court, Honorable Supreme Court appointed a committee to look into the effluent, how the effluent high TDS COD effluents can be managed or treated. Then the Central Pollution Control Board, in coordination with the State Pollution Control Board, they have constituted a high-level power committee, constituted high special background persons. Then they, after so much of R&D units and IICT collaboration, they evolved this treatment method. Now we are successfully implementing this method. This is the background of the story why the ZLD system has been evolved and it is a continuously insisted in all the bulk drug industry. So now coming to our topic. These high TDS effluents are first of all high TDS and also high COD. Here in my slide, I have not mentioned high COD effluents. Please correct me. Please correct it. High TDS and high COD effluents from the process. From the process, already I told, consists of high TDS as well as high COD effluents. These are firstly fed into the stripper. What happens in stripper? The effluents are fed from the top and the steam indirectly, co-currently or counter-currently. You might be having the knowledge of how the functioning of stripper will take place. So in counter-current, the steam will be generated due to the high temperature. The COD are only because of solvents. Am I right? The chemical oxidation demand is due to the chemical. That is, in the reaction, already I told that most of the reactions are solvent-based reactions and all the effluents consist of more and more of solvents. That means more and more COD values. This entire COD is stripped off in the stripper and it is collected at the top of the stripper. That is again passed through a condenser. I will see the photograph so that you will get some interest. So this is called a stripper. You see, this is the this is the first one is a stripper. This is entire the stripper column. This is how exactly the industry consists. The stripper, this is the Mygan Laboratory, one of the MNC company located in Hyderabad, they have established this advanced zero liquid discharge facility, and this the first Kagam is known as the stripper, where we will feed. It is not appearing in the backside of top of the stripper. We will feed the effluent, and it will go downwards. From the bottom, we will inject the steam. So the indirectly, not directly. Remember, counter currently, the entire due to the high temperature, the whatever the volatile compounds are there, that is nothing but solvents. They are stripped off and connected at the bottom of the strip, and it is passed to the condenser. Even you might be hearing in the distillation column that drift marks is nothing but going back into the after condenser. What happened? The volatile, whatever the COD caused due to the solvent, that solvents are collected at the top of the stripper, and it is condensed and it is separated from the effluents. So in the stripper, what we have did, whatever the COD was present in the high TDS effluent are taken out. So one part we completed in the stripper purpose to remove the COD. High COD, whatever high COD was there, it is completely removed from the stripper. Next, what left in the effluents? TDS. That high TDS is next transferred to the multiple effect evaporator. Here you see the multiple effect evaporator. This is a triple effect evaporator. You might be heard about the applications of the MEE in sugar industry or in any bug drug industry. The multiple effect evaporator, initially when the MEE was established earlier in 1-2 decades back, nowhere it was used in the safeguarding the environment or controlling the pollution. Only the purpose of multiple effect evaporator to concentrate, and it is used in the process, not in the treatment facilities. Remember how the application will vary from time to time. So ME was initially used in the process to concentrate the product or mother liquor, but over the period of time it is also applied in the effluent treatment plant. That is the application, very very important. If we study the stripper application, it doesn't mean that it should be used only for that purpose. The concept of the ME is to concentrate. Here the concept of removing TDS from the effluent is nothing but concentration only. That's why the ME can be used in the process as well as in the treatment techniques also. That's why I am very insisting on the applications of the techniques or concepts. So this is a triple effect evaporator. Multiple nothing but more than one is called multiple. Here we have 1, 2, 3 calendar years. So it may be 5, 6, 7, 8 based on the TDS levels. Most of the cases in our bug drug industries, there are only 3 calendar years maximum. I have seen 7 calendar years in Gujarat, Wage area where TDS levels are more than that. They are provided 7 calendars. 1 second. So it varies based on the characteristics of the effluents, whether we need single calendar or twice, thrice, or more than 5. So this is about the so what happens after stripper? The COD due to solvents are taken back and condensed, and it is separated from the effluent. Next, from bottom, the whatever leftover effluent are fed to the multiple effect evaporator. Here what happens? Again the concentration. The steam is provided counter currently same way, and the concentration levels are increased from calendar 1 to 2 and 2 to 3, and after that you will get 70% of the concentrated sludge. Okay, This is again fed into the ATFD, agitated thin film dryer. So what we are doing, we are taking high TDS and high COD effluent. First of all, we are feeding into the stripper where COD gets separated, and the remaining bothered about the TDS level. Those TDS levels is nothing but whatever the salt present in the effluents. That is, we have to remove that salt. For that, we are removing the water level. That's it. We are concentrating in the ME. So whatever moisture are removed from the ME, that is taken back and sent to the condenser. Here you see the condensers. This is condenser of ME and gets condensed, and the condensated liquid is separated and stored separate in the separated tank. So the concentrated mother liquor or effluent or solution, whatever you may be call it, are passed through the ATFD, where 100% solids you will get from the bottom, and also remaining 30% moisture or water content gets at the top of the ATFD, and also it is passed through a condenser and it is gets collected and separated. So what happened here? COD was removed from the stripper, salts are removed from the ME and followed by ATFD, and you are getting stripper condensate, ME condensate, and ATFD condensate. Condensate is nothing but liquid. So solid, whatever solid we are getting at the final stage, that is bottom of the ATFD, that is disposed to the landfill waste, and whatever the condensate from the stripper which are having more COD value is nothing but more solvent, is nothing but having more calorific value, that is disposed to the incinerator, or nowadays it is going for cement industries as a fuel. As I already told that the waste may be useful for another industry, that is disposed as a fuel in the cement kiln. And next, ME condensate, ATFD condensate are having less TDS, less COD values. These are disposed to the biological treatment system. Next, coming to the low TDS effluents. Till now, Naresh, I'm okay?
Okay, sir, you can wind up in 10 minutes.
Yeah, I will move on. That's what I want. Whether
Yeah.
I'm taking out of time. So we will fast.
10 minutes.
Yeah, no problem. I will complete within 10 minutes. No issue.
Okay, sir.
So till
Thank
now
you,
we have studied about how the ITDS were treated. Next, coming to the OTDS. Whatever the OTDS effluents are there, that is treated in the biological ETP treatment. So biological treatment, you might be heard in the conventional method, that is ETP, effluent treatment plant, conventional activated sludge process, or MBBR, BBR. So many technique biological ETP treatment presents in the available for treatmenting low TDS effluents, and followed by RO system. Why RO system? Because the TDS are not reduced by using biological ETP. It is reduced by using RO plant. Here you see, after RO reject, permeate is used for utilities, that is for boiler feed or cooling tower. So here ZLD means coming. The liquid permeate is a fresh water that is not thrown from the industry. It is again going back to the utilities, that is boiler feed or cooling tower. Some purpose they are using, they are not disposing. Here RO rejects they are coming. The RO rejects are again having more TDS values. More TDS means it is treated in the ME and FTFD. Cycle goes back. If you see in the entire the flow sheet, ITDS this is entire the pre-treatment equalization. Why we require equalization? Different departments have different characteristics of effluents. We should a uniform effluent characteristic. That's why neutralization is for maintaining the pH values. Equalization to get the homogeneous mixture in fluctuation tanks. Suspended solids removed, clarifier solids are removed. In stripper feed, your COD removed. Stripper feed tank to stripper it is fed and COD removed. In ME it is gets concentrated 70%. Next ATFD 100% solids we get, solids goes to the hand feed, and condensate goes to the biological ETP, where pre-aeration tank, tubular settler, aeration tank 1. This is the heart of the any biological treatment where the COD gets reduced by using microorganism, and secondary clarifier where the solids are sludge removed, aeration tanks 2. If any get out COD is there, that is removed in the aeration tank 2. Secondary clarifier where solids are get separated. Next treatment effluent tank, the RO system. Whatever the get out TDS values are there, removed from the RO plant. RO plants based on your requirement, TDS levels, RO plant 1 and 2 also required. The permeate fresh water is reused, it is not going outside the industry. That's why zero liquid discharge name came to this system, and reject which are having more high TDS values are fed to the stipper ME and ATFD. Next, OTDS is already told, after pre-treatment it is a fed to the effluent treatment plant. This is the original photo of the how the industry we have the stipper ME and ATFD. Next, we move on to this is the homogenization tank where to get different departments have different type of effluent characteristics. We should get homogenization. It is diffused aeration is given to get the same mode. This is a carry fluctuator, original how the exact carry fluctuator will be there, and this is a sludge drying bed, and this is the aeration of the tank. Heart of the any biological ETP, heart of the ETP is known as aeration tank. Next, these are decanter where solids are get separated, and this is the RO system how it looks like, and maintenance of the RO system very sensitive. Membranes are very costly, and we see just I put this slide why just I want to tell you that whatever the stipper condensate which are having more calorific value and the distillation bottom residue are having more calorific value, which are earlier incinerator, that is just burned. That means wasting of energy and in turn polluting the environment. So after introduction of co-processing of hazardous waste in cement kiln, co-processing is nothing but utilization of hazardous waste generated from the bulk industries which are having more calorific value more than 2500 kilocalorie per hour used as a fuel in the cement kiln along with the coal. The percentage of coal used in the cemeteries got reduced, and not only that, the bulk drug industries they are paying to the cement industry because they are taking their waste, and for that they are giving money and as well as the fuel. So we are we save the energy as well as money. So huge quantity of waste are used as a fuel in 2009 and 10, 8,000, 10, 11, about 19,000, and 12 up to 14,000, 21,000 because the combined Andhra Pradesh were there. Now in single state 11,000, 9,000, 9,000 hardly. So these much of waste are utilized as a fuel. So very quickly, if I have time 2-3 minutes, just I will complete these slides also. A chemical engineer manages resources, protect the environment, and control health and safety procedure while developing the processes that make the products we desire or depend on. I would like to add 1 minute I will take. So where exactly the chemical engineer comes into the picture? See, in all the work done, what happens? The molecules are developed in the lab scale where the scientific people will be on the job. The scientific people that is from MSc or doctorate in the science background, they will develop the molecule in the lab scale. So after developing the molecule in the lab scale, by maintaining the operating condition, that is temperature, pressure, whatever the operating condition is there in the lab scale, it is very easy to maintain the operating conditions in the lab scale because very milligram level or gram level they will produce the molecules at R&D level. But when it comes to the commercial, it goes to the lab scales to pilot plant or pilot plant to the commercial production. When it goes to the commercial production, it's a very tough job to maintain the operating conditions to get the same product, whatever the molecule you are getting into the gap by using same conditions in the commercial production. That is, we are calling it as a scale up. Here, the technical person or engineer or mostly chemical engineer will act very important role to scale up the molecule, whatever the developed in the gap scale. So, it is our duty to take into the commercial production. See, what is the use of and fun having the molecule in the gram level and milligram level? There is no use. Once you get the molecule in gram level, it is our duty to convert in the scale up in tons level. Tons level, we have to mass production should be there so that it will reach to the entire public where the chemical engineer will comes into the picture. The chemical engineer is all about changing raw material into useful products. Just now I discussed, we use every day in safe and cost effective way. That is important. Cost effective also very important. Just I am having a method which can produce huge quantity of a product, but not cost effective. There is no use. For example, petrol, plastic, synthetic fibers such as polyester, nylon, all come from my chemical engineers understand how to alter the chemical, biochemical, or physical state of substance to create everything from phase change to a fuel. Next, list of industries which require chemical engineers. So most of the times nowadays, even 5 years back, 10 years back, chemical engineers are not encouraged by the industries. But if see, there is no such industry which does not having the chemical engineering operation. You see all the industry. I bet you take any industry without chemical engineering, you don't find any industry. Like Biogas, refineries, integrated chemical, all these industries which require chemical industry. But then why the chemical engineers are not recruited? You are saying that one side, everywhere chemical engineering applications are there, chemical engineers required in every industries. In spite of that, chemical engineers are not recruited. Why? What is the reason? And these are the other government departments. List of departments, production, process, R&D, ESH projects. Chemical engineer can handle every department, not only this, even administration also can handle. And you see the number of chemical engineers available in the present industries. In the last class, you might be heard about the opening of chemical engineering in Belgium. So now you can see what are the number of chemical engineers recruited in our industry. These are the major industries in Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. I quoted only. Other than these, many industries are having chemical engineers. Dr. Reddy's Laboratory 700, 650, Arabic. These might be increased because this is some 3 months or 4 months back figures. And so, okay, sir, you told everything. You are told proud of chemical engineering and every chemical engineer required those things. But why reasons for not recruiting chemical engineers? You see, high pay. Chemical engineers required high pay and demand and instability. Because if you get a good opportunities, immediately you will change from one company to other company. Availability of abundant science graduates. Science graduates are available and with low pay, they are ready to work and they are stable at their jobs and they will not move from industry to industry. And the mindset of the industry always we want the product with minimum cost. You don't want to spend more on the salaries of employee. He wants to give the training to the science graduate over the period of time. After gaining experience, he is able to run the industry. In that way, they will think and they will not prefer technical engineers. No restriction from regulatory authority or government industries. So these are the reasons why chemical engineers are not recruited earlier. Earlier, I am telling earlier, not now. Present scenario, over period of time, mindset of management has been changed and realized that to operate certain department, qualified technical person are required and mandatory. The regulatory authority, like Pollution Control Board, insisting for qualified technical staff in certain departments. Huge profits are gained by the management by recruiting technical staff. I am thankful to the Dr. Reddy's Laboratories, the Anji Reddy sir. Is no more now, but he is the main person, the main industry which started identifying the talents of chemical engineers and start recruited, and they have seen the wonders of by recruiting chemical engineers in the product in economic way, energy conservation, and everywhere, every department, chemical engineers are simply they changed the entire scenario in the industries. That's why the now present management, all the industries are recruiting chemical engineers, and I am sure that all the chemical engineers, when you come out, definitely you will get job, but make sure that you should have a minimum concept of chemical engineering concept and applications. Okay. And before discussion, just 1 minute, Naresh,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Proceed.
but I won't take more than 1 minute.
Okay, sir.
So this is about the first case study, solvent recovery. You see, the solvent recovery in bulk drugs. All the chemical engineering we will study about the distillation part, what are the different types of distillations, how the solvents are segregated and recovered. So all the bulk drugs use huge quantity, use means huge quantity of solvents, and after usage, initially they used to throw directly into the effluents and they are not bothered about the recovery solvent. Over the period of time, what happened? The solvents costs are much affecting their economy. Economically, it's not viable by using fresh solvent again and again. That's why they completely concentrated on solvent recovery, and the solvent recovery is named Baudas. Nowadays is very important, and all the chemical engineers can only handle the solvent recovery department. I am guarantee that every industry we are insisting, and not only our insisting, they realize that without solvent recovery, they are not going to manufacture the products economically very low cost. So that's why I request all the students, please concentrate on the solvent recovery and applications, so that definitely you will get good openings in this area. And recovery of solvents, byproducts. So what happens in the byproducts are any unwanted products are there, like ammonium nitrate, potassium nitrate, potassium sulfate. These are earlier disposed directly into the landfill without treating. Nowadays, they are recovering these salts by using different method, by sending as a raw material to one of the other industries, reusing waste as raw material, freeing of different, as already discussed in the co-processing. One example I will tell, one of my junior and one of the employee in the Aurobindo lab, and is also Andhra University student, has reduced the cost of the equipment 11 crores per year by changing a small change in the design of the diameter of the pipeline. See, whenever you are working any in industry, you should see that simply whatever the system is running, you should not accept. You see that how we can reduce the cost, or we can reduce the economy. In that way, we should think. So by after doing this change, is completely you won't believe his salary was doubled because of his talent. Okay. So I think I have taken much time. Thank you, Naresh, and thank you all the participants for listening patiently. I have taken more time than allotted for me. Thank you, Naresh. Then we will move on to the discussion part.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for your igniting lecture to the young minds. I hope many questions will be coming. Participants, you can unmute or you can ask the questions in the chat box.
You better you ask directly other than chat box.
Yeah. We have given the two options. They can do anything. Sir, one question from my side. The majority of the questions asked by the students and the parents. So, what is the main reason behind the accidents that are going on after the post-lockdown period?
Accidents. So majorly, we are calling the name itself accident, because there is many factors are there. Mostly because these are all instruments, equipments, though they are not like human beings. So every instrument has some life. So every time valves, pumps should be thoroughly checked and it should be replaced. Over the period of time, what happens? Any valve is there, very small quantity leakage also can cause very severe damage to the environment, or it can cause a severe accident like NG polymer. What happened? Because of storage of raw material due to lockdown, there is no, I mean, it is my personal opinion. I don't want to in any contradictory statements. Because of lockdown, there was no production was there in the industry, in the LG polymer, huge quantity of raw material stored, and the manpower also not available because of COVID. The very less staff were there, and nobody was checking and replacing the valves, because if any industry is operating continuously, thorough regulation will be there, and checking will be there. Because of this COVID, no, not in operation, and huge quantity of raw material stored there, and no cross checking was there. Yes, people, due to that valves leakage, these accidents will generally occur, and also sometimes 99% I can say that only because of instrument failures, because every instrument has some life, and only 1% human errors will be there. That's why these accidents will occur.
So there is a question in the chat box. Is there any way to treat wastewater in the leather industry?
No, 1 second, Naresh, I'm not in a position. Okay. Yeah. Okay, I'm getting now. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Take notes. Okay, sir. Okay. Participant can ask question.
Sir, is there any way to
Sir,
treat?
is there any way to treat wastewater in leather industry? Because in leather industry, they produce lot of wastewater. Yeah, it's a good question. It is not only for the industry, leather industry, for headache, even for regulatory authority, we have faced so much of problems in treating leather industries. Now, there is a separate department created in 1980s to handle this tanneries and leather industries. Right now, I can't exactly tell you how the ETP works, but presently there is a abundant technology available to treat the leather industries. That, and what from our side, what we are insisting, these leather industries effluents are not mixed with other effluents. And not only these leather industries, textiles, these tannery and textiles are very typical in nature as bone drugs. Even bone drug effluents can be managed, but whereas these tanneries and textile industry effluents are very, very difficult to manage, we are insisting they should not be mixed with any other industries. They should have separate ETPs combined. If it is a small scale industry, we are giving even subsidies to encourage common ETPs to treat. As of now, what I tell you about this answer is we have sufficient treatment technology. Okay. Next question: do you have any role in monitoring required engineers in your plant? I didn't get. Do you have any role in monitoring required? No. See, as a regulatory authority, our role is to control the pollution. But as per the act, as per the rule, we can't monitor the engineers in the industry. But is a friendly nature, we can insist, we can tell the industry that if you are going for recruiting of good engineers, you will get a good product manufacturer with low cost only. We don't have mandatory rule and regulation to monitor the engineers in plant. Any other questions?
Sir,
Okay, Naresh,
they can unmute, sir. The participants can unmute.
Yeah, please.
My Balram, sir.
Yeah, Bagaram, please tell me.
In DB's laboratory, sir, I worked for months.
Okay. Can you increase your voice? You can start your video so that I can see you.
Balram, talk loudly. Talk loudly and fast.
Okay, no issue. You please.
Which laboratory, sir?
Okay.
PM, you told
It's
sir
not
that
audible. Disturb. There is a disturb in your voice, Bagram.
Well, please type in
Speak
chat
out.
box.
Yeah, somebody asked PPT to share. Definitely, I will share. Naresh sir will. I will share with Naresh sir. You can take it. Bagram, please.
sir,
You worked in Divi's for 1 month or 2 months. I heard till that. After that,
Ramaprasad, we will mail that question to you so that you can respond to him.
yeah, definitely. Not only today, or you can always welcome. You can mail me any industries. You have any doubt in any type of industry, not only bug drug, all type of industry. Whatever the questions you have, mail it to me so that I always happy to share knowledge. Even I can get the to learn from you also. Yeah, I think Anil is want to speak something.
Anil sir,
No, I'm waiting for the others to answer, sir. If they have anything,
Sir.
one more we have, sir.
could you
Yeah,
please let us
sir, Anil sir. One
No,
more
sir.
question I got in the chat box. Yeah,
Yes, sir,
if somebody
respond.
wants to know how to get into the CPCB, so you see you can always go to the CPCB website. Whenever the notification will be there, it is published in all the national newspapers and even it kept in the CPCB website. In CPCB, recruitments will be there, but not every year, maybe 2-3 years or more than 5 years. But compared to the state PCB, CPCB will be recruitment will be more.
Participants, if you have any question, you can ask. Please be free. You can ask any question related to industries, or if you want any internships in PCB, whether there is any provision for internship in PCB, you can ask all those questions.
Feel free. I request all the participants. See, now nobody knows everything. Even I can get a chance from your questions to learn.
So there is one more question. Explain the
Yeah.
role of chemical engineering in the environmental sector. I think most of them been answered.
Yeah, I just now, once again, I will repeat it. So, entire whatever treatment methodology are there, completely related to by combining all the chemical operations only, the ZLD was established. Don't you think Slipper is a chemical engineering and multiple effect developer is also chemical engineering topic and ATFD, scrubber, what else required? All the effluent treatment techniques using instruments all are concepts of chemical engineering only.
So there is a next question.
Yeah, please.
Why didn't the Beirut port not
Yeah.
neutralize ammonium nitrate?
Even I too have this question doubt. Because it's very behind for me. Even I too following this accident very easy. I have to come back to you. I don't have answer for this because anything. No, because if you ask NG Polymer, I can take because after NG Polymers there was a committee was constituted and what are the consequences faced and what are the action taken by the board I can take, but not the Buret incident. But it's a very unfortunate thing which was happened. It should not be there. Okay. Let me come back to you for this question.
Participants,
Naresh, I think we can.
yeah. Participants, if you not have any questions, Anil sir, you can give a formal vote of thanks.
yeah.
Yeah, Naresh.
Yeah.
Anil sir, 1 second.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. I want to just speak to the all participants. My sincere suggestion or advice, whatever you may take it, I request all the students of UNITS, you are having very good lecturers or faculty, because I know my Guruji Subbarao sir more than 12, 13 years, or even I think 15 years back, and also Naresh, my colleague in UNITS, and Anik sir. I learned many things from Subbarao sir and Naresh. Naresh, though is my sub-junior, is very good at all the things. Many things I learned when I was working as a faculty in UNITS. Whatever doubt, maybe a silly or complicated, I used to put more questions with everybody, whoever there. And one more person I would like to remind here. Uh, uh, Praveen sir and Naresh sir very much friendly in nature, and whatever doubt asked, they used to simply clarify me. And one more person, Arjun, he is also my junior in BTech as well as NEMTech. He is a classmate of Naresh. So please make utilize of these faculty and try to get a complete chemical engineer, not on paper. Complete chemical engineer means you should have a grip on the subject. You may be getting less marks, I won't mind, but please have thorough on the subject. Not 100%, even 60-70% you are having the basics of chemical engineering. Then, over the period of time experience, you will be matured in the industry. Once you enter into the industry, you will be getting more mature by experience. So please make utilize of your staff, and put more and more questions to your staff, so that both way we can learn. Win-win situation. If you want to ask any question, we won't work. If we won't work, we won't develop. That's why you learning is a continuous process, and everybody till their end of life we should learn. That is my personal opinion. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Anil sir, please.
Uh, Anil sir, you proceed.
Yeah. So good morning, everyone. I hope you had a great session with Ramappa sir. Myself, Dr. C.H. Anil, head of the department. I thank Ramappa sir for giving his valuable time to address this lecture. And the main emphasis he made on about the various effluents coming out and the various pollutants that a chemical engineer will be dealing with, and how they are treated, how the various mass transfer applications are equipments are applied to the in industries, and zero level discharge. So all this may highlight you, may give you a broad application how they will be applied in various industries. I hope this will help you a lot, and I once again thank Ramappa sir and all the participants for participating in this impact lecture series. The next series will be on next Sunday with the new guest. I once again thank you all.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Ramappa sir, there are two questions that will send to your mail.
Oh yeah, definitely. I will come back to you. Sure, and definitely.
We will mail to you, and we'll mail back to the participants. They
Yeah,
have two questions on something like safety course, and Balram has asked one question that he's working in Divi's lab and he's released many effluents. So what does the PCP do? Whether they
okay.
do the strict audit or not? Something questions he asked. We will mail to you so that we can mail back to the
Yeah,
participants.
definitely, I will address each and every question.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
మాస్టర్ చెప్పండి.